Welcome to Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, the founder and CEO of Enter the Arena. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an expert in raising investment and business growth. Our mission at Enter the Arena is to empower female founders to fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business with investment expertise and business coaching. Here we share the stories of inspirational female founders who've raised investment to inspire you to do the same. You'll hear their honest accounts of what it was really like to secure funding, the highs, the lows, and the challenges they experienced on the journey. And along the way, we'll discuss top tips for how you can be successful too. I'm here today with May Al-Karooni, the founder of Globechain, which is an award-winning online marketplace that enables small businesses to list their unwanted items so that they can be distributed to charities. So it's kind of like a B2B impact version of eBay, I think. We'll get May to tell us a bit more. Then we're talking about the things that those businesses don't want or need anymore. So things like retail fixtures and fittings, obsolete stock, even building materials from the construction industry. And Globechain are doing really well already. They've already got over 10,000 members on their platform, which is amazing. And they work with some of the largest brands in the world and some really well-known charities. It's all about stopping these unwanted items going into landfill and also saving charities a huge amount of money in the process. So let me give you some stats. Last year, Globechain saved over 5 million kilos of unwanted items going to landfill, and they saved over £2 million for charitable causes. So clearly they're making a great impact already. Now, in 2018, May raised in excess of £500,000 in investment finance to help grow her business. And I'm really excited to be talking to her today to discover her fundraising journey and talk about the challenges she faced and learn her top tips for female founders. So welcome, May.
Hello. Hi, Julia. How are you?
Really, really well, thank you. So let's kind of go back to the beginning a little bit, because I know that you have a background in investment banking and asset management. Your career, sort of 10-year career, was about raising money for venture capital and for property and hedge funds. So you've kind of been on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the whole idea for Globechain, having come from that career background?
Yeah, it was a bit by accident, really, because I was just minding my own business in the bank one day, and they basically moved offices across the road. And they came around and gave us like some images of like new carpet color, pick your carpet color, pick your computer and chair. You know, they were asking kind of, what do you prefer? And I asked them, well, why are you throwing away all these, you know, perfectly good pieces of furniture? And, you know, they said they just didn't know who wanted it. They didn't have time. And it was just a complete waste. And chatting a bit more with the facilities people, I found out that it cost them £50,000 per person to make the move. Now, obviously, that's, you know, the labour costs and everything with it. But I just thought, well, that's like commercial madness. That's craziness. Where would you waste so much money? And also, like, there are people out there that need these things. And I just thought, well, if I could save you 10 or 20,000 of that and give it a good place, surely that's better business. So I thought, why does no one digitalize waste and put everyone together on a platform? So that's really how Globechain came about, connecting these big corporates to charities and small businesses online.
Yeah, amazing. And so you were working while you had the idea, and then what happened? You had a number of years bootstrapping the business, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did. I stayed in the job for another year and a bit. And basically I just paid £800 for a very, very basic website, designed it myself, told a freelancer to set it up. And then I basically went out to see if like anybody would be interested in using it, really. And we got, basically I got one of the largest retailers in the UK to test it and pilot it for a whole year. So we did 60 stores for them. And that's when I realized it was more than just furniture. It was about fixtures and fittings. And then the year after, I went part-time just for a small company and did 2 days a week with them. And then the business obviously just got busier and busier. And, you know, by the end of year 2, I was working kind of full-time on Globechain.
Wow, that's amazing. And so did you ever think, when you had this first idea, did you ever sit there and think, I'm going to need to go out and get investment finance to make this the business I want it to be? Was that on your radar?
No, actually, I wasn't expecting it to be big at all. I was just like, I'll just have a go. Like it was just something interesting to do. Actually, I was kind of against going for the fundraising because I didn't feel like I needed it straight away. And it wasn't really on my mind to kind of do this whole tech startup kind of environment, if you like. It was just a case of, oh, I have an idea, let me see if it will work. So that was really the kind of the motivation, the focus of it. The fundraising obviously came later.
Yeah. Okay. So what was this pivot point then that made you kind of go, right, I perhaps could be going out and getting some money to help scale this up?
Yeah. It was when it was getting a lot busier. It was just me on my own. It was like the money was trickling in, but not enough to hire, people quickly. And then I'd say year three, things started really shifting and momentum started growing, and we were earning more money then. So I outsourced it. So in year three, I had like my web team was an agency, and I used to contract marketing people. But generally, I was doing everything else, and it just got kind of ridiculous in the sense of time. And I was working kind of 24 hours a day. So so that's when I was thinking, you know what? Okay, let's go for some funding. I give up.
I think that's quite a common story. It's you get to that point where you're like, oh my God, I just can't absolutely do everything by myself.
Yeah, it was more to do with I can't do everything on my own and it needs really ramping up, and also making the decision that I wanted it to be a really big business, rather than, oh, we're running out of money, because we could have plodded on like quite, nicely and steadily for years. But unfortunately, that's not how tech works. It's kind of first to market, you've got competition, you've got to watch your back. So I was like, okay, what do I want to do with this business? Like, what's the vision? So it was kind of really having a deep think about, did I want this business just to be something local or something just in the UK that I can run and like have myself? Or do I want to achieve like really amazing big things and make it global? So there was a little bit of thinking around that took a couple of months to decide.
But that time to think is so important, because actually, until you know what your vision is and where you want to take the business, you can't make sensible decisions around whether to raise investment or which investment path to go down, can you?
Absolutely. And it's about who do you want on board? Like, what type of people do you want? What's the value? What's your culture? There's all these like things that people talk about, but actually when it comes down to it, you have to have really a lot of time out to think about it. There's a lot of dedication involved in it, and you've got to be very focused. So it took me a while to think, okay, what do I want out of this business? Like, what is it? And then I think when you do get that, it comes and it speeds up. But don't take it lightly. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not. It's a serious thing when you go out and raise money, isn't it? It's a serious thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
you thought. So in terms of your investment strategy,
Yeah.
VC was the route that you went down. Tell me more
Yeah,
about.
because basically I kind of missed the seed and the angel side of like a couple of 100K, because we were making revenue. We were in a bit of an unusual position where I didn't have a team. It was me doing everything. We had a site and it worked and we had traction. But it was kind of like the other way around. We were earning money, but no internal structure. And most of the time, that seed money is used for structuring, idea stage, prototyping. But I'd done all that bootstrapped on my own for like 3-4 years. So I knew when I was earning the money in the company, I knew that I'd be in a better position, just because obviously it was earning money, so I could prove it. I had some really great brands on board, and for me, I was like, well, if people can't give me money now, then there's clearly something wrong. Because I tried very early days, and I remember one investor said to me, May, it's got to make money from day one. So that was kind of the thinking behind like, creating a business model that generated revenue. Even if it's like a couple of pounds, it's still generating. And then the other point, I remember going into a small kind of fund, not a venture capital as such. And I remember the guy behind, was quite arrogant, was like, well, I'm not sure about it. Come back when you have 2 clients paying 40,000 a year and I'll give you 150,000. And I was like, why would I do that? So I was like, you know, I'm going to show you. I'm going to get those clients, and I don't need the 150. So that's what motivated me, to be honest. And then the VC came later because it was more. I was looking at it as strategic money. It's in like, how can we grow quickly, faster with like the best people?
Okay. Right. Well, we'll talk about the process you went through in just a second. But first of all, I just want to talk about the fact that you have eBay as a mentor to your business, which is that must be super helpful. How did that whole?
Yeah, they were really lovely. Yeah, they so we won an award called the Nordic Innovation Awards, and we got the opportunity to go to Nike, who are one of the council members of that award that work on it and structure it. And eBay had just come on board as those founding partners. So we had a video done with NASA interviewed us with eBay, and eBay, you know, really nicely, you know, mentioned that Globechain was kind of the marketplace to watch going forwards, and this was the future on social impact. And then afterwards, you know, we got along with them so well. They were like, you know, how can we help you grow? We really like what you're doing, and what can we do to help you in kind of strategy, marketing, whatever. So it's been a great opportunity to work for them, and we've got a great relationship, so we can kind of speak to them whenever we want, and they can help us where they can help us. So it's been really nice experience to have them on board.
That's incredible. And also I imagine investors would have been quite impressed by the fact that you have eBay kind of giving you
yeah, I think it's generally everything. It's actually not so much, like I don't put that much emphasis on it. You know, there's a lot of things kind of the investors look at. So I'd say like having eBay is like a tiny bit, but probably in the scheme of things, you know, I think other things were more important from an investor point of view.
Okay, well, let's talk about the investors that you spoke to then. So you decided to go out for VC funding, and I imagine it was, as it is for many entrepreneurs, quite a time-intensive process, resource-intensive.
Yeah.
So how did you approach it? How many investors did you speak to? How did you find the whole thing?
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. It takes all your time up. Like I literally like stopped doing business for like 6 months. You know, I just kept it plodding. Yeah, you go at the beginning. Obviously, you talk to anyone, and then you realize a lot of it's time wasting. So you have to pick and choose your investors carefully. So you know, do your research. Make sure you're picking the right people, the people that you like. You know, there's a lot of kind of background and due diligence work as well on your side, giving them documents, but also on their side, you know, checking them out. I think as a woman founder and single founder, it was a bigger challenge because they don't like people being sole founders. They like co-founders. And obviously 4 years into my business, I wasn't going to bring on board a co-founder just because an investor wanted the lower risk in the sense of having 2 people. And, you know, I don't get knocked over by a bus and the business collapses. You know, I can see their point, but, you know, I remember I said to one was like, oh, you know, we like it, but, you know, how do we know you can grow a team? And I kind of wanted to say, well, so that 20-year-old that you just gave 2 million to can manage a team because they've never done that before. So it's like, what makes them different from me? And I remember just saying to him, like, you know, what I perceived as like arrogance, but, you know, to somebody else could have been confidence. I remember just going, well, look what I've done in the last 4 years on my own. Can you imagine what I could do with a team rather than the other way around? And he was like, good point. And I was like, really, I really have to justify myself on these things. But there is definitely an unconscious bias, I think, specifically with females. And I noticed if I went in not smiling into meetings, people offered me money compared to if I smiled. So there was like things like this that actually were more important than actually persuading the investors. Once you got their respect in that sense, the rest of it kind of sold itself. But, you know, but because we were making revenue and we had some good traction as well. But ultimately it's about, you know, do they believe in the vision and see where this market's going to? But I found there was like some very specific things that changed the dynamics of the meetings.
Very, very interesting. So what you just said there about earning their respect. So, and I think, you know, your business is amazing. And as you say, you'd already got great traction when you were going out there. So in many ways, that's less of a question somehow, but this issue that you had to kind of earn their respect in a different way than somebody who's perhaps a 20-year-old guy going in pitching is Fascinating. And so did you feel you got asked different kind of questions than perhaps you would have done had you not been a solo female founder?
Oh, completely. I got asked one just from somebody very famous from the banking world. When are you going to have babies? You know, and it's like, why would you say that? I feel like saying to them, how do you come into work with a family? You know, but you can't. You know, but you know, I mean, that doesn't offend me anymore because I look at that in a different way. I go, well, I actually don't want you as an investor. If that's how you perceive things, you're not the right investor. And, you know, I believe in my product and my business enough to know that you're actually not good enough for me. And that's how, you know, I think if any woman founder is going out there, believe in it, because there's somebody somewhere will be keen on it, and then people follow suit.
This is such a point you make, though, because I think the investment community needs to wake up to this, in that we're not going to take this shit anymore. You see, you know what, if you're going to ask me those kind of questions, I don't want you as an investor, you know, and we will find other people who do get it. I mean, if someone asked you that question in a corporate when you're going for an interview, you'd have them up in a tribunal.
No, completely. And this is the point. You know, from me coming from a banking background, what's really interesting is I actually didn't get this type of bias in this way. I know, I appreciate a lot of women have, but you know, my whole team was men, my clients were men, brokers and traders. And, you know, there was some banter, but I could stand my ground, but not one person questioned me in my job role, which was interesting. And I think that's because you have a title, you have an HR department, but also like people see you coming to work, so they see you have a role in that company, you know, whatever it is. Whereas when you're an entrepreneur, they question it because they don't see you working, if that makes sense. You know, people are, and it's not just investors, it's the whole community. There is complete judgment to being female, which can get really ridiculous. And I think, you know, you have to choose your battles carefully. But, you know, one of the things I've taken is it doesn't get me angry anymore, because I'm like, you know what? The market's moving. You're missing out on some amazing opportunities. Someone else is going to get it that's going to back somebody. And I think you just got to believe, you know, if your product's good, investors will invest in you. But you have to, women think that, you know, by being overly confident, it's ego. And what I've noticed is, you know, these male investors don't see it as ego, they see it as confidence. And I think if you can just demand that kind of confidence and that respect in a room, you've got them. You know, you're no different from the other person, you're probably even better, some of them. So it's about gauging the audience and making decisions. But yeah, I mean, if, you know, like some will go, oh, you single, meaning, you know, they want to know if you've got family and children and stuff like that. And, you know, I've had an instant where I saw one startup get 2 million when I was going in for less amount, and I was making more revenue, no funding previously, and that startup had 3 funding rounds, so they were more diluted. So technically, you know, the returns aren't going to be as high. And the investor he went, yeah, send your pitch deck. And I knew he wasn't going to look at it. And I wanted to say, what made me different from that startup? And actually, we're better, right? And then I just realized, oh, it's female. He didn't believe in me as much. And he, you know, he's a nice person, but he just didn't, unconsciously, something in there he didn't believe, which is really interesting.
Well, their loss, right? Their loss.
Yeah, completely.
on this point of judgment, let's talk a little bit about valuation and the amount you raise, because I know that it's something that you feel that you don't really want to share with the world at large, how much you raised and at what valuation. So let's talk about that. Why is it that you want to keep that confidential?
Yeah, I just there's two reasons really. Strategically, to not create competition, because once you start showing the world how much you fundraise, there are less inferior kind of competition, if you like, that will jump on the bandwagon and go to other investors and get more money, and that could really ruin the dynamics of kind of brand imaging, reputation and so on, when people are trying to do things faster but not understanding why the product's been built in a certain way. So that from a strategic level there. But ultimately it's because it's like it reminds me of these questions you get. It's almost like saying when somebody asks you how much you raise, it's a badge of honor, but actually you're getting debt. And most people that get fundraising is because they don't have money. And I just think it's almost like going, well, how much salary do you earn? Because I will only value you if you're earning a lot of money, because it means that you're successful. And that's what I don't like about the market, because there's a lot of companies that fundraise a lot of money that make no money, never will, probably won't even last, and have no substance in their business. But they're proud that they fundraised 5 million or 10 million or whatever, and they're very open to ask those questions. And it's going back to that classic of you should never ask someone a salary or your age. It's kind of the same thing. Like, it's none of your business how much equity I have, what I don't have, or how much money I have. I've raised what I've had because that's what I think. And actually, you're smarter to have raised less money because you're leaner and you'll be more profitable and you have more equity. So it's a really weird psychological thing that everyone's been brainwashed to think is a great idea. And it's just one of these bugbears. Like, I just think, why should I tell you? It's got nothing. If you knew how much I raised based on that, is that going to make you think any differently about the business? I don't want people to be like that. I want people to see the business as it is, as something long term with substance, regardless. We could have had no fundraise and still be here.
That's very astute. Very, very astute, I think. I mean, you did this badge of honor thing. It's nuts, isn't it? It really is. And I talk to entrepreneurs and I say, what are your goals for the business? And they'll say, oh, well, in 2 years, I'm going to do a Series A, and in 3 years, I'm going to do a Series B. And I'm like, this is not a goal for your business. It's a tool for your business. And you're right. It is potentially nobody's business. I mean, I think one thing I would say is I think you should be proud that you've got investors on board, because that there is a certain amount of validation around that, which I think people are proud of. They think, well, if the investment community believe in me and my business, that's a good thing, and it is a good thing. But you're
absolutely
right. How much you raised, we're all just so excited that you've raised, and we're really proud that you've done it. But in terms of that deal, if you want to keep that private, that's up to you.
Yeah, I don't think it needs an announcement in the press, unless it's like an unbelievable amount for a specific reason.
What you make about how much you raise is also very interesting, I think, because there are a lot of stats, a lot of press around the fact that female founders don't raise as much as the guys. And I think my view, I don't know if you'd agree, is that you need to raise as much as you need. And you need to make sure you give yourself enough runway, enough room for making a few screw ups along the way. You don't want to raise too much too soon, because you over dilute.
Completely, but it's not about the dilution and the equity. It's more about your valuation, because when you go for your next round after your second round, you're going to really screw yourself over if you're not hitting the targets, which is most likely with most people, because things happen. So how are you going to get an even higher valuation if your first valuation is too high? So you've got to play the game a little bit. It's more important to have the small print in the contracts and control than your equity, because 100% of nothing is nothing at the end of the day. So it's not really about, obviously don't, give away too much if you can, but it's not the be all or end all if you're giving away a couple of extra percent, because if that investor is going to help you take you to another level, it's definitely worth it. But I see a lot of people brag about their valuation, and I'm like, you're going to have real problems. Like, I saw something in the press, I know them very well. They were claiming they're going to have a valuation of 1 billion, and they've been devalued to 20 million. Beyond, so they can't fundraise. They've got a bad reputation, and no investors will touch them because of it. So it's a very dangerous game to play, I think, doing that. And just take what you need. Like, I remember when I was fundraising, it was actually really ironic. I just got my funding. I just got the email to say, someone's going to give me terms. My investor's going to give me terms. And I was in with an angel fund that were interested, but being very difficult with their questions. And one guy quite arrogantly sat back and went, "I don't think you'll ever be able to fundraise 500,000 at this stage." And I just went, "Oh, that's really interesting." So I've just got an email right here showing me that someone's just offered me a lot more than that. And the irony is they offered me 500,000, that same group of people, when the other guys offered money as well, but I didn't take it. So but it's like, you've got to play with the figures a little bit, take what you need, don't say no, obviously, but we can raise more, and I believed it. But I did have a lot of people going, you're not going to raise, you should raise 250. That's what they'd say. And I'm like, why should I just raise that? I'm raising what I think I need. And I aim high with it, and then see what you get.
I remember on my when I first got VC funding in for my last business, I was out raising $500,000, and they said, we want in, but actually we want you to have 750. And that was really good when they said that, because they were like, actually, with our experience, we know that you're probably going to need a bit more. And I was like, bloody great. It was fantastic.
Yeah. And that's a great investor that says that to you, because they're being realistic. And the fact that they were concerned and they gave you some advice means that they cared as well. They didn't want you to fail by they could have just given you $500,000 and kept quiet, but it's nice that they do that.
So let's talk about the VC that you went with in the end, which is Kindred, isn't it?
Yes.
So why did you choose Kindred, or why did they choose you? And tell us about the whole kind of the way it's structured with them.
Yeah, so I'd heard about them in the grapevine, tried to contact them, didn't hear anything. And then I had somebody that was kind of like an unofficial advisor, and I said, do you know Kindred? Can you do me an intro? So he did, and really liked them straight away. And I liked them for kind of maybe 2-3 things. They got the business straight away. I think you always can tell when you go into a meeting if investors get your business. And because we're quite unusual and we're a new business model, it takes somebody a little bit more vision and pioneering to look at that. So I like the fact that they understood it. Like the questions, you can tell by the questions they asked, they understood it. I like the fact they had 2 women. So it was 2 women, 2 men on the board. They basically created the fund. So they're very women friendly and founder friendly. Actually, they have a great reputation of being founder friendly. But ultimately, it's because they had operational experience. So they'd all had businesses and sold them, and had fundraising. So they are entrepreneurs themselves, which I think is super valuable, because they're not just looking at a spreadsheet. They understand the challenges, the problems. They know how to scale models. They know how to create culture. So, I can tap into their knowledge really easily, if you like, and they're going to give me very accurate answers because they've been through it. So I really like the fact. So I'm quite lucky to have them, to be honest.
That's brilliant. And they have quite an interesting, don't they have quite an interesting structure in terms of their fund that you as an entrepreneur then become part of? Is that right?
Yeah, so we become carry partners. Basically, we have a share option in the fund, which means that if any of the portfolio startups that are invested in the same fund as me do well, they float, they become PLC and so on, we get a certain amount of dividends. So the idea behind it, obviously the word kindred, a collective, but the idea behind it is we help each other in the portfolio, refer clients, leads, or just general like emotional help, entrepreneur help. And it's really nice. It creates quite a family vibe to it, but also we're very open in the sense that, if I need something, I can tap into the portfolio and go, so-and-so, I heard that you've done this really well, or you had this problem, or do you know anyone that can do this? And that's a really valuable asset, I think.
That's amazing, because it is a lonely old place, isn't it, as an entrepreneur sometimes? And I think it's a point you know about kind of, there's a little bit of a point around kind of your emotional well-being and your mental health almost as an entrepreneur. When you've got with other entrepreneurs that you can kind of phone up and go, oh my God, this has happened, what do you think? That's really valuable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say go for a startup. So one of the startups I've like clung to in the portfolio, but no, he's great because he has raised a little bit more funding than me. He's on a second round and he's got double the number of people. So it's a great benchmark because all the problems that he's faced, the growing pains, it's still fresh in his mind. And those people that he got to advise and help, he's done it. So when I have similar issues and challenges, I just pick up the phone or WhatsApp and go, hey, you know, this has happened. I know you had a similar situation. What did you do? What worked? What didn't? And that's really powerful, because it's nice having these mentors that have been there, done that, sold their unicorns, you know, but these are very busy people. And will they remember that situation when, you know, your website didn't work, or you hired the wrong architect or the engineer and you had a problem with them, or, you know, something else like, oh, how did you balance life? And, you know, will they remember that at that stage? Maybe. But if you get somebody just ahead of you, it's a really useful, you just tap into it and they respond very quick. So it's really good.
Fantastic. And so talking about someone who's just fresh off having done a fundraise, to pass on some advice to those women who are out there following you.
Yes.
Have like a couple of nuggets that you'd like to throw out there for them, because you're pretty, you know, it's pretty visceral for you at the moment, isn't it, the fundraise?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's similar to what I've just said. Talk to female entrepreneurs that have just gone through it, because they'll remember, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. and really, like, when you're talking to the investor side as well, what I found really interesting is speak to somebody that's just gone through a round and ask them how much they gave away and so on, confidentially, because then you can really gauge if you're getting a good deal for that moment in time. So I think be really confident, own your products, own you know that you're powerful and you can do it just as good as anybody else. And I think that's really important. And perseverance, to be honest, as well. I think, you know, business is 80% mental. 10% craziness maybe, and 10% business. That's how I see it. But I think resilience and perseverance is, you know, you can get through a lot by just holding in there and believing in yourself. So you know, because times will get tough. So and that's where you see the cracks. So yeah.
How did you do that then, May? I mean, it's because if you're somebody that's not confident and someone says, you just need to be confident, it's quite hard, right? So are there any specific things that you'd say that will help people get that confidence that they need?
So I like to think I work on myself nearly every day. So I'm always really honest with myself. If I know I've got a weakness, I'll try and figure it out. I'm quite a logical person as well. So I split the emotion and logic apart. But and I think you just need to find your happy medium, if that makes sense, your balance between that like feminine energy and masculine energy, which is quite hard for females in business to do because you can end up being quite aggressive. It's always a work in progress, I'd say. But I think just each challenge you come across, deal with it, you know, reflect on it and think, okay, like be really critical of yourself, going, you know, okay, I snapped there, or I wrote this email wrong, or something like that. But what I find do now when I'm angry, I will take a step back. Like I know, you know, like when I'm burnt out and tired, never to make decisions in that state of mind. So it's, you know, I used to read a lot of self-help books as well, but I think whatever helps somebody, whether that's getting a coach or reading something or just listening to somebody that's quite similar personality, to go through things, because what you'll find is things you used to stress about year one, you know, it's like water off a duck's back in year 3 and 4, and you've got different types of challenges. But it's really about mindfulness and, you know, getting to the gym and de-stressing. So know where you can release that a little bit, you know, especially if you're on your own, because you can't confide in anyone in that sense. But have great people around you, like slowly they come. So you know that person's good for staff issues, you know that person's good for technical, you know that person who just having personal stuff at home. So, you know, find your mini mentors, I'd say, you know.
So yeah, so as you say, kind of you've done the fundraising challenge, but it doesn't solve all your problems, does it? It kind of means
it's like exactly, it's like a celebration for 10 minutes.
Yeah. We're so bad at that. Why do we do that? I'm exactly the same. You know, I think, oh, but I've done that now. Let's move on. Actually, we should be.
I was like, oh my God, I've actually got to do the work now. I'm responsible for someone's money. It was more like a panic.
Oh my goodness!
But no, it was exciting. Exactly. No, it was actually really exciting. It felt like my wings were like unclipped,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So it was a breath of fresh air. You know, it's really interesting, the dynamics. I had to very much change my mindset to realize it's okay to spend, you know,
Yeah.
as well, which was a really interesting thing that I realized.
And so what are the key building blocks that you're spending on now then to take the business to the next stage?
So it's just really about to change. Before it was staff and kind of infrastructure, if you like, internally. Now we'll probably end up spending a little bit more on marketing and a bit of creative side, bit of side of things, taking a few risks on it. And I think that's really, really now for us, it's about growth and execution. So the money will be spent on that, and looking forward at like the next 12 months and trying to work out, okay, what does our company look like in the sense of people? Which countries do we go to? Because we've just started in Germany and we're in Houston, but we've had quite a few clients now try and push us for a few places in Europe. So it's about making a decision. Do we want to go there quicker than we'd put in the cash flow, if that makes sense? And, you know, you can if you're bringing the money in and the clients. So there's a very delicate balance there to watch. So it's really about, where are we spending our money next, I think.
Do you think you'll end up having to do another raise, or will you be self-funded?
I think I would do, I'd do another raise. Well, it depends. I mean, if you know, we're going to get an influx of a couple of million, I wouldn't do a raise. I think the likelihood is that we should do another raise at some point, because we want to scale internationally. So that raise will be to grow the team abroad, do the research, and get the traction really, really moving. But my gut is like, it doesn't have to be a crazy raise either, you know, because you've got to like justify how you're spending the money. So it's like, it's all very well saying I want X amount, but like, what am I spending it on, you know? So you've got to carefully plan that a little bit and back it up with some research.
Yeah, it sounds like there's huge potential for the business. As you say, it's probably a question of just how fast you run at it, or whether you grow in a more structured and careful way. So
exactly.
Fantastic. Well, it's so interesting to hear about your journey and also your business, which I wasn't aware of before, and now I very much am. So I wish you all the best. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, keep posted, to keep sharing the podcast, because hearing stories like yours is so important for those women who are coming through, and also for the investment community, for them to understand what it's really like as a female founder to raise money.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, May. Take care. Bye.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
Thanks for following Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. This content is all provided to you for free, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss another one. Enter the Arena has helped hundreds of female founders fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business. Our first-hand experience, expert guidance, and proven programs help female founders unleash the Wonder Woman inside. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.enterthearena.co.uk. I'm Julia Elliott Brown, and I look forward to talking with you soon.